What's up, everybody? It's Hoya Rock from the one and only Madball and Smoking Word podcast. In my hands right now, I got that new LP from my boys in Terror. The record is called Pain into Power.
I believe in these days of brotherhood.
10 brand new songs produced by Todd Jones, the artwork by Spoiler. It drops on May 6th on Pure Noise Records in the US and on N Hits Records in Europe. Hardcore lives. You know the deal.
No time to even the score. Still dedicated to hardcore.
A couple things before we get started here today. I want to wish Tommy Hart a happy birthday, the singer of Broken Vow, super talented human being, very nice, very gracious. I love Tommy. Every time I see him, it's just a great time all around. So Tommy, I hope you have an amazing birthday today. Also, for anyone who hasn't heard by now, Broken Vow, Take It to Heart, North American US tour happening very soon. Go check out the flyer. Orange County Hardcore coming to a city near you. I'm so excited and very proud of Broken Vow and Take It to Heart. They're about to do something really amazing. So please support both those bands on this upcoming tour. Also, I got to get this K-pop in here. Today marks 700 days of weekly. So all of you know that I love Twice. Ta Yoon's always with me right here. She's always on the podcast. You got the shirt right here that was gifted to me by my good friend Andy Weaver. But there's Twice, and then right underneath that is weekly. So 700 days of being with them is amazing. So shout out to all my dailies. I'm very much looking forward to their next comeback. Shin Ji-yoon, I hope you get better soon. But on today's episode, it's brought to you by From Within Records. A lot of shit moving in the From Within Records camp. Carbonite has a new song out titled Like a Sickness. If you have not streamed that yet, please head over to their Bandcamp or boot up your Spotify, Apple Music title and go stream that new song. Get ready for the new EP coming out soon. It's fucking amazing. And more recently, Statement of Pride just dropped their summer 2022 promo, and it is amazing. I love Statement of Pride. I'm so stoked that they're coming to California in a couple months. They will be out here with Shackled. Shackled will be hitting the road pretty soon. Doubt surrounds all in the USA. They definitely will be hitting a city near you. So please, if you haven't heard the new promo from Statement of Pride, do yourself a favor, hit pause, go boot up your Spotify, Apple Music title, Bandcamp, and listen to those songs. They're amazing. Also, shout out Warren, Human Work Second Pressing, moving well. They're about to hit the road. They're also doing a full US tour, so please support Warren this summer when they come to a city near you. And if you're not following From Within Records on social media, like I always say, please boot up your Twitter, your Instagram, click that follow button to stay up to date on all the current news. And like I always say, please support From Within Records because they support us. Also, if you're looking for high quality merch, please go hit up my friends over at Good Fortune Printing. They're out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. They do amazing stuff. They printed all my collab t-shirts. They definitely print merch for a lot of your favorite bands. You can follow them on Instagram at Good Fortune Printing, or you can contact them, contact at goodfortuneprinting.com. Seriously, they do amazing stuff. So shout out to them and thank you for supporting us. On today's episode, we had to track down our good friend Evan Stein. He plays guitar in Broken Vow. A lot of love for Broken Vow today. I'm definitely a huge fan, but Evan plays guitar in Broken Vow. He lives out here in Orange County when he's not in college. He's obviously in Rhode Island right now, but he's an Orange County hardcore dude. And I am so proud of him and everything that he's accomplished so far. And I was very happy to finally be able to have him on the podcast because he's gotten so many shout outs from from me and all of our mutual friends that have been on the podcast before. So it was a long time coming, and I'm very excited to have been able to have him on. So please strap in, enjoy this conversation. Without further ado, welcome Evan Stein to the show. All right, and we're live. Welcome to the podcast. Evan, how's it going?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. I feel like this is a long time coming because I feel like I've mentioned you so many times on the podcast, so I'm happy to finally have you here.
Yeah, it's about time. I was waiting patiently for my invite, but now we're here. Took us long enough, you know?
Yeah, I'm happy. Better late than never. But for people out there listening who may not be familiar with who you are, can you just give a brief rundown, and then we'll just go in depth from there?
Yeah. So I'm Evan. I play guitar in a band called Broken Vow. I play guitar in a couple bands that hopefully will have demos out in the next month or so. But for now, I play guitar in Broken Vow. Okay,
and you guys are fresh off the show in Wilkes-Barre at Carl Hall. Can you speak about how that show went? And I focus on that one in particular because I'm such a huge fan of the Wilkes-Barre scene. I just love that part of Pennsylvania. I think about moving there all the time. I have a lot of good friends from there, so I'm just curious from your perspective, like how did everything go at that show?
That show was incredible. I mean, it's easily one of my favorite shows that I've played. So the room was, I think it's something like 100 cap, maybe 150 cap, something like that. But having those people there, or having that many tickets sold, plus I think like 30 guest list or something like that, plus all the bands in the room, like the place was full. It was sweaty. Mm-hmm. And it was, I don't know, it was a pretty perfect show for us. So Wild Red came on first, and I fucking love that band. They make just like perfect pop music, and they crushed it. I had a really fun time during their set. We played, and we were kind of the heaviest band on the bill, but I think that worked in our favor because everybody who was like itching to mosh during that show really like took out their anger during our set. It was really dope. You could tell based on like the size of bands like One Step Closer and Anxious, they were bringing in a lot of people who are relatively new to the scene. There was a lot of like really young kids in the room, which I think is awesome. And I could see their eyes like light up when they saw people like hate moshing to Broken Vow for the first time. It was awesome. Soulblind was sick as always. I really like those dudes. Anxious is straight up one of my favorite bands. They crushed it. And that's easily the best One Step Closer set I've ever seen. They've got such a crazy reaction. The entire room was moving. I'm super happy for those guys that they got like a great hometown show.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. No, I'm happy to hear that too, because they work hard and they are rarely home. So always on the road. I feel like I've seen them more out of state than, in their own hometown.
Mm-hmm. They keep it. I was talking to Ryan about this. They like to keep it few and far between that they're hitting Wilkes-Barre. So it's a very special thing when they do. And I've seen them twice in their home area in like around where they grew up. And both times it was like an incredible, like life-changing musical experience. So I really appreciate that. I really respect those guys a lot and like the work they do.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I've only seen them once in their own hometown, and it wasn't even like a full set. It was like a surprise set. I totally am spacing. I was at the record release, but outside of the record release, it was just one surprise set at SWB, which was really awesome. And then the record release, which was something that I'll never forget because we traveled and it was in a special venue, something that I don't even know if they'd ever do anything like that there again. But it was a really cool night out there in Sweet Valley.
That was an incredible show. I'm gonna remember that one for the rest of my life for sure.
Okay, so want to take it back. I first got into Broken Vow not knowing who was in the band, right? I'm just, I just through talking to Ryan and those guys out there, and Grady, and the name Broken Vow, kept coming up. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let me finally check them out. Did some research, and then I talked to Nick from New Morality, and I was like, hey, like, trying to do a podcast with somebody from Broken Vow. Who should I reach out to? He forwards me to Tommy. Start talking to Tommy, and then I start to see pictures of you guys. And I'm like, damn, this one guy looks familiar in the band, but maybe I'm just crazy. And then kind of put it off, and then come to find out that the guy that looks familiar is you. And it and I was like, that guy looks like this dude from Orange County, and it turns out that it is you. And I was totally tripping out because I was like, this dude from Orange County moves across the country to go to school and joins this awesome hardcore band, and just, you know, by chance, me not even knowing who's in the band, I stumble upon them, and it just felt like a really small world at that moment when I found out that you were in the band.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
I was just gonna say, I think it's hilarious that it took me moving to the opposite coast for you and me to meet.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because I've definitely seen you at shows before, but it's just, you know, you go to shows, you don't really. Well, for me, I'm not like super social, so I just go talk to people that I know, maybe meet a couple new people by chance. But for the most part, I'm just like focused on like, all right, this band's here. I want to try to enjoy it as much as I can. But yeah, we're just by chance, we had never ever spoken to each other until you started going to school out there.
And the funniest thing about that is you and I have so many mutual friends in Orange County. It's like, I don't know how it took us this long. It's really funny to me, but here we are now. You know, I'm excited. I'm really happy with how I've like kept the Orange County, New England connection and stuff like that. Like, for those that don't know, Broken Vow is going on tour with Take It to Heart from Orange County this summer. We've played shows with Dare. We have good relationships with all those guys. I'm really stoked on being able to like be a part of New England hardcore while still feeling like I'm a part of Orange County hardcore. I think it's dope.
100%. And for people who may not know, you're going to school at Brown University.
Yes.
Out of all the places you could have gone to school, why did you choose to go to Brown?
I was definitely like itching to get to the East Coast. I do love California. I love Orange County, but the East Coast it feels a lot more right for me. It feels like where I'm meant to be. And in terms of like why that school out of all schools, to be completely honest, it's one of the only ones I got into. I applied a lot of places and got rejected from a lot of them, which I think is really funny. But I ended up at Brown and I couldn't be happier that I did. I mean, balancing school and hardcore is really hard. That sounds really funny, but balancing school and hardcore can be really hard. But I'm really glad that I'm like where I'm at and stuff like that. I think that it's really great, and I wouldn't have met the Broken Vow guys if I was anywhere else. So I'm happy, you know.
And going out to school, did you even like have any want to be in a band, or was this just something that kind of happened by you just going to shows?
100%. So part of the reason that I chose Brown out of like my choices was because it afforded me the ability and like the time where I'd be able to like go to shows and really be a part of the music scene. And leading up to the time that I moved out here, I was really talking to a couple people specifically from Providence, where Brown is. So Nick Bertles, who you've had on the podcast before, drums in Pummel, drums in Ankle Biter, drums in Ultimatum, and a million other bands that don't exist. Him and I were talking a ton, and there was definitely intentions of starting a band. Broken Vow happened completely by chance, totally separate from that. But I was 100% like, I was like, I'm going to be in multiple hardcore bands, and we'll see where that takes me, you know?
And did you ever play anything out here before you left for college?
So I played in like a pop punk band back in Orange County. We did mostly house shows, but we played Program a ton of times. We played Chain a couple times, or I think just one time. We did like, we played with, a bunch of like local pop punk bands, but hardcore stuff. By the time I was like deep enough into hardcore and was like able to really like hold my own and like feel confident writing that type of thing and not like acting like a poser, like someone who's new to the scene or whatever. Like by the time that I kind of had like a grasp on all of that, one, it was so close to me moving across the country for school that like it just didn't make sense to like start up a new band. And two, by that point, Take It to Heart had already formed, and all of those guys are like literally my best friends in hardcore on the West Coast. Like those are the people that I'm closest with, and it's like probably the 5 people that I would have asked to start a band with, you know. So with Take It to Heart being formed, I was like, shit, like I'm not trying to just be like their side project, you know. So I didn't get to do anything for hardcore, but yeah, I played in a pop punk band for like 3 years over there. We were called SS something. Pretty terrible name, but we were fun. I liked it.
For sure. And have you ever wanted to, tap back into that genre?
every once in a while I'll be playing guitar and I'll play a riff and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like, what if I start writing melodic music? But then I keep going, and I remember that from like the last, like 2 years or so, 3 years of writing strictly hardcore for the most part, I've just like totally fucked my brain in terms of writing melodic music. Like, I try to write like a riff or something like that, and it just ends up going back to like chugs and stuff like that. I need to sharpen my skills with that, because I do miss playing and writing like music that has like clean vocals and stuff. You know, I'm not hardcored out, but like my writing, I need to sharpen my skills a little bit more.
For sure. I could totally see like your group of friends, whether it be the ones out here in the West or the ones out there, out there in the East, doing something like that, because you guys are all so talented that I feel like it wouldn't be that hard for you guys to cook up something cool.
We always talk about it. I mean, like my friend group over here specifically. So specifically my friends that are in the band Ultimatum. So that's me, Nick, who you've had on the podcast, Tommy, who you've had on the podcast, Harrison, who plays guitar in Broken Vow and is sleeping in the next room over, and our friend Cesar, who plays in the band Ill Communication. We all are like huge fans of that band in 1975, and we always geek out about like synth poppy stuff like that. And Tommy and I have plans, once all our current bands are like done and have retired or whatever, we're going to start a band that sounds kind of like Thank You for the Venom by My Chem, you know, like we have stupid plans that eventually we're all going to sell out and do some like bullshit pop projects. But for now, we're having fun just like covering every corner of hardcore that we can.
For sure. No, that's awesome that you guys at least have a plan, because hardcore definitely goes a long way. You mentioned bands like My Chem, and you think about like the bigger bands like Fall Out Boy, they all have, hardcore ties, whether people realize it or not. It's pretty insane. Yeah.
I mean, those like there was the clip of Gerard Way like shouting out Power Trip the other day, and like Turnstile and Soul Glow are on that My Chem tour playing like stadiums, like that's crazy. And like everybody knows the lore about like Fall Out Boy being like vegan straight, or having members who are vegan straight edge and like tied to hardcore and stuff like that. Like, it's crazy how much hardcore permeates like other subcultures that are so much bigger, and how like important it is like foundationally to stuff like Midwest emo and pop punk and pop music and stuff like that. It's crazy. It threw me off when I first found all that out. It's so cool.
Yeah. One of the things that tripped me out was like last week you saw Post Malone wearing a Scowl t-shirt. And
wild.
Like, yeah, because one of my buddies, he is up there from the Bay Area. He posted a picture. Oh, it's some random tattooed guy in a Scowl shirt, but he was trolling. But it was literally Post Malone, and I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy that someone that big and that famous, but also if people know he has ties to the hardcore scene, but for him to be able to wear that without it being like a thing, without it being like some brand deal or something, for him just wearing it just out of like, him actually liking the band or the music, it's actually pretty insane.
It's a perfect combination, because I know that Post Malone is like plugged into the culture. I mean, I know he's been singing the praises of like more like metal stuff, but like I remember him talking about like Infant Annihilator in an interview forever ago, and like I know he's like into heavy music and he's down with this type of thing, but like you couple that with a band like Scowl, who's like taking off beyond what we thought like hardcore could be, like playing with Limp Bizkit. Like that band is going to be like on fucking Atlantic Records or some point, and is going to be sold as like the punk band. I swear those guys are like, they're stupid talented. They're the nicest people in the world. They all deserve it so much. And it's just a perfect pairing for somebody like Post Malone to be like down with that type of thing. I love it. I'm so happy for that happened.
Yeah, same here. I echo those sentiments. Like everyone in that band has always been nothing but kind. And whenever I needed anything from Malachi, especially, he'd always go above and beyond for me. So I always have to give him his props. And to this day, I could text Malachi right now and he would respond. So I love Scowl, and I'm happy to see them get bigger. And they're just another band showing that there's really no ceiling when it comes to hardcore.
Dude, Malachi is like the nicest dude ever. I have very limited interactions with him, but he hit me up just like kind of out of nowhere recently, and just like told me that he kind of like he likes what Broken Vow is doing, and he really appreciates it, and he thinks like what we're doing is cool and stuff like that. And I appreciated that so much because I'm a huge Scowl fan, and I'm a huge fan of like what he does with his band. But like, I don't know, just being at the size that Broken Vow's at, like it's really hard to tell when you're doing things right, or when like you're like in the right place or where you should be, or things are doing well and stuff like that. And to have kind words of affirmation from somebody whose opinion I value so heavily, like Malachi's, really meant a lot to me. I'm sure when I meet him this year, because we have some stuff where we're going to like overlap, like Sound and Fury and stuff like that. And I really need to like tell him that I appreciate that. He's the nicest dude. I met Cole once at a show that Spy was playing, and he was the nicest dude ever. I haven't met the others, but I'm excited to, because like I said, we're overlapping with those guys a couple times this year.
Oh yeah. And speaking of Broken Vow, I feel like right now, for the band, like from my perspective, it seems like you guys are at this point where things are like bubbling, and once some of these key things happen over the summer, it's just going to explode, and you guys are just going to kind of take off. That's just how I see things happening for you guys. I'm not sure what it's like from your perspective, because obviously you know a lot more than the public does when it comes to Broken Vow's schedule.
I appreciate you saying that, and I think you're probably, I mean, I hope that you're right more than anything else. But from my perspective, it's like, it's a little bit harder to say that, because me and Tommy and Mon and all the people like in our camp are the ones who are kind of trying to align the pieces to make what you said happen, or what you said might happen actually happen. Like I'd like to believe that you're right. I'd love for Broken Vow to really start taking off. I mean, it's what we've been building towards for a long time, but a lot of things have to go right between now and then for that to happen. And I think we're setting ourselves up well, but who knows? I mean, something like Sound and Fury, like you can't really argue much with that, like I appreciate the kind words, but I all I can say is I hope you're right.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously not just Sound and Fury. You got Sound and Fury. And then you have you guys going to Canada, which you guys think about. Not a lot of bands, get that opportunity to go to Canada, and especially to play something like Wild Rose, which is like they're like their thing, right? People know like, okay, this is like the fest to come to, because I don't think there's any other like major hardcore fests that go on out in Canada. No disrespect, but I think it's just a really cool opportunity for you guys to go out there and capture. And I say international, but they're our neighbors. But to go and get like that international, audience out there.
I mean, I big respect to the whole Canada scene. I think that this is the first, like Wild Rose is the only like consistent fest at this point, but like I see a couple other things bubbling up. There's that fest in Toronto that's coming up in August with a crazy lineup. There's that Scoped Exposure Fest that looks really fun. I've got a lot of homies on both those fests, and I'm excited for them. But to me, Wild Rose is the one that excites me most. And it's not just because I'm on it. I really appreciate like that whole Calgary scene and that whole Western Canada scene. Like obviously we did that straight with the band, we did that split rather with the band Set Straight from Western Canada. Those guys make me so excited to just like be into hardcore at the same time as them. Jess from World of Pleasure and Mortality Ray and Coulter from Serration and World of Pleasure have been like nothing but so welcoming to us, and like playing internationally, especially playing internationally is a privilege no matter what, but getting to play internationally with a scene that not only is so welcoming, but features so many like stupid talented individuals and talented bands. I keep seeing Jess say stuff on her story and on Twitter and stuff like that, like saying like Broken Vow is honorary Calgary hardcore. And that like means so much to me. That's so kind to like bring us in like that. Like I could not appreciate those people more.
100%. And I always have to give props to Serration. I'm a huge fan of that band. And for anyone who's not familiar, go listen to Serration. They're fucking awesome.
I agree 100%.
Okay. Well, yeah, I honestly do believe that these things you have coming up will definitely boost, Broken Vow in the right direction. Because for as in tune as I am, and as everyone that like I'm surrounded with who knows Broken Vow, there's just some people who may not be aware, or they're familiar with the name, but they just haven't had a chance to go, stream the record. But when you're right there in front of them, and then they hear it and they feel the energy, I think that's what's going to capture a lot of people.
We've gotten a lot better live recently too, and I'm hoping that's going to turn some heads, because we took about 2 months off or so, 3 months maybe, where we hadn't played a show with like the core lineup of Broken Vow. And we're back to it. We're on tour right now. We're really grinding, and we're getting better every single night. And kind of, we had a discussion about this last night. Like, the goal of these shows now is like, it doesn't matter if there's 20 people in the room or 200 like there was last night. Like, the goal is just to make everybody in the room leave with like some respect of Broken Vow and some understanding of like, oh, that was fucking cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're resigned to not, like, that is the biggest thing. We just want to turn some heads right now, because I think that I like to think our music's good, and I like to think that we're putting ourselves on the right platform. And it's like, all we really need to do is get in front of people and get them to turn their head to us,
And as far as, mentioned you guys are, better live. Do you feel like you guys were just, not super tight, or just not in sync because you guys weren't around each other for a bunch? Because I know, some people have been on the road. You had a lineup switch, not major, just one member.
We've had a lot of lineup switches. Tommy is on the road with Anxious a lot, but also, like, we are all home a lot. Broken Vow all lives like 2 or 3 hours from each other. So I'm in Providence, which is about an hour from Boston. Our bass player Olin lives in Boston, and then Tommy and Harrison are in Western Mass, which is like 2.5 hours northwest kind of from where we're at. And then Max is right in the middle in Hartford. And for us to all gather, we all have to drive something like 2 hours, and it's hard to practice like that. It's hard to write like that. We're trying to make it work, because we're taking this band very seriously. But I think also the fact that I don't think it's that we weren't tight before necessarily. I think we've always been relatively good live. I think it's just that we're all getting very comfortable, and we're with each other, and we're getting in a groove of things. And like, I don't know. I've gotten a lot better at guitar recently, which allows me to be a better performer instead of just like playing the songs. I'm better at being a performer now. And I don't know. We started with this first. We started with that show with Higher Power, Dying Wish, and some local bands. 2 weeks ago or something like that. Time is fucked in my brain right now. And we hit the stage, and it was like a switch flip from the last time we had played. Everybody was so much more on it, and like, it feels like a different band in the best way possible. We've been getting reactions that have shown it. We've been having fun performing, even when the shows aren't great. Like, we just enjoy playing together a lot more, and it's just been like, it's been so fun. I'm in love with this band,
Oh yeah. And did you get a chance to interact with anyone from Dying Wish?
Like, I had a very, very brief conversation with Emma, and we sell like crop tops, like baby tees or whatever. And she was talking about how Dying Wish is going to do those over the summer, and she was really nice, but I didn't get to talk to any of them as much. I know Tommy's really good friends with the Higher Power dudes, so we talked to them a little bit more, but either way, that show was fun. And both those bands are so pro and so good that like, I had fun, I had so much fun at that show.
Yeah. Shout out Higher Power. I had to, had a pleasure of booking them recently. So a great group of guys, especially for them to have traveled so far to do what they're doing. It's definitely awesome. And I'm happy that I was able to be a part of their run, in the States this time.
I'm so jealous that you got to attend that show, let alone book it. That looked like so much fun.
Honestly, it was it blew my mind, because that whole thing came together just off of me and Grady speaking at an Anxious show, because I had looked at their tour schedule, and I was like, oh cool, they have a day off, and I just wanted to hang out as friends, because I figured, oh, like, they're going to be in town, like, let's try to do something locally cool. And I had been bugging him about Last Straw for a minute. Like, I was begging him to do Last Straw songs when Anxious came through with Koyo, but it just didn't work out. But just in that conversation with him, he was like, yo, like, let's do a Last Straw show. And literally on the spot, I'm like, if you're serious, I'll make it happen right now. And he was like, yeah, like I'm super down. And it was just off to the races from there. Like, you know, once he okayed everything, I reached out to, the right people at program, got the date locked in, and the local bands, you know, shout out to Major Pain, Firestarter, Take It to Heart. Like, they were all super stoked and, you know, thankful for the opportunity. But I was like, dude, I'm just as thankful, because without you guys, the show wouldn't happen either. Because, like, you know, there needs to be a bill. Couldn't, you know, it would be weird to have just Last Straw and Higher Power show up. But it's cool. You know, shout out to everybody that rolled out. Hopefully you guys all had a good time, because it was a wild night in program.
One, that story is really funny to me because that feels very Grady, just for him to be like, fuck it, why not? You know? And I love that. And then also, yeah, I'm going to echo you on shouting out those local bands. Got friends in all three of those bands. I really want to play with or tour with every single one of them. I love Kenny from Major Pain. Coop's the nicest guy ever. The Firestarter dudes I've talked to minimally, but me and Gustavo talk in the DMs all the time. And that band is so good live.
They're one of my favorites.
I need them to release some new music, because that band is so good live. And I could talk about the Take It to Heart guys for hours. You're going to have to stop me, but love those guys to the moon and back. If you haven't checked out their band yet, check them out now, you know?
100%. I ride super hard for Take It to Heart, not just because they're friends. Because if I'm being honest, I was like a fan of the music before Friends. Like, I knew Jay, but not, like, you know, super well. And then as far as, like, you know, Ben, Eric, Pat, and Max, I just, you know, met them after, you know, just going to the shows and talking to them more. And always, like, we all have, like, mutual friends, but I wasn't close with them until, you know, pretty recently.
I mean, yeah, I have been friends with them since before Take It to Heart was a thing. So of course I'm going to be biased, but I genuinely think that band is putting out some great stuff. This is definitely you're putting this out, like, very soon, right? Like within the week. Then this isn't worth saying, but that new EP that's recorded, that's coming out at a date that I cannot disclose, I think is, like, top tier melodic hardcore. Like, I really think they've stepped up with their new material, and I really hope when that comes out, like, people are putting their eyes on Take It to Heart, because that band deserves so much love that they just haven't gotten, you know?
No, trust me, I'm right there with you, man. I'm doing stuff behind the scenes, always trying to, you know, help them out, like, as much as I can with, like, you know, and they know it. Like, I never want anything in return. I just want to see them get the, you know, respect that they deserve, because I'm very prideful when it comes to Orange County hardcore. Yes. Even though I'm a transplant, I don't care, whatever. I lived here for like 12 years now, so I rep Orange County harder than most people that are even from here. But yeah, when you look at the landscape of what's going on, like, we could easily just kind of fade away, because with shout out Dare, right? Much respect to Dare. Everybody knows that I love Dare, but a lot of them don't live here anymore, right? Like, the only one that actually lives here is Eric, and that's by their own choice, which is fine. But they're on another level, right? So they're always out on tour. It's hard for them to do a lot of stuff here locally, just because, like I said, they're on another level. It's pretty spread out. Same thing with Fury, right? Legendary Fury. They allegedly there's a new record coming. Who knows? Maybe it's just taking longer than expected, but I'm still holding out. Still one of my favorite bands. But they're the same case, right? They just did that thing in Texas, but other than that, like, they rarely do stuff because they all got other things going on. Some members playing Zabalba, Object of Affection, Illusion. People live not even in Orange County anymore, which is fine. So they're kind of out of the equation, and all that's left is, we got Scalp, but they're like in a whole other lane, which is weird, but it's cool. Like, I'm happy to see them being successful, but they're doing, their own thing, which is cool. And then we have they're outside of like this kind of realm of what we're talking about with like Fury, Take It to Heart, Dare, and stuff like that. But I do want to say, like, shout out Scalp, because that band is
so good. I fucking love that band.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No, they're totally fine. Yeah, all respect to Scalp, but they're in their own lane. And then when you look at what's left, we have Take It to Heart, Major Pain, and I know there's some newer bands popping up, like newer, like pretty fairly new, like you know, no disrespect, but like they haven't done much, and that's it. And when you compare that to like the LA scene and with like the amount of bands that they have, or you go up to like Central California and then even up to the Bay where they're just killing it up there, like we don't have a lot. So I'm you know, fighting and trying my hardest to help spread the word. That's why you know, it was important for me to have Take to Heart and Major Pain on, because they're locals, and I just want to do everything that I can to kind of help, you know, spread the word about them. Like, you know, Firestarter, obviously love them too, but they have like, you know, their own hype. People already know about them. They're doing a lot more, you know, outside of Orange County. So it's just important for me to put on for the bands from here, because like I said, we're just a couple bands away from not being relevant, which is crazy. Because when you think back to the long history of hardcore, it's like there's been so many awesome bands. Like I don't want to, you know, be around and watch it fade away when I have the ability to help, you know, keep it around and make it or keep it relevant.
And it's so bizarre that Orange County hardcore is kind of in the place that it's in, because it's like, we're the fourth most populous county in the entire US. We have crazy show attendance, like, or generally, mostly for touring bands though, you know, like, but like chain reaction shows and program shows are like legendary. Bands like dream of getting there. And when they do, it's always like one of the best shows they've ever played, you know, like, it's so bizarre to me that we have as many people in the scene as we do, and so many active members of the scene as we do. And so much like support. We have great venues. The people at program are so down for everything and so integral to what Orange County is, you know, like, and yet there's just so few people who want to start bands, you know. It's really tough, because I agree. Orange County hardcore is legendary. Orange County hardcore now is great. Everything from there is really good, but like, it's so hard watching it. Like, I don't want to say fade, because that's not the case. I think there are a lot of people fighting really hard to keep it alive, but it's so weird watching it not like flourish when all the pieces are there. You know, we just need people to start bands. It's weird.
Yeah, and it's hard. And like, I have friends who, like I said, are in like newer bands that haven't done much. Like, you know, shout out Tiernan. He plays in a band called Brainless. And like, I know there's other stuff, but like, trust me, like I'm like doing my best to pay attention to see what's going on, check out new bands and stuff. But yeah, there's just not a lot of like super active bands in our area. And I don't know, you know, what the real reason is. Maybe people just don't want to start stuff that are from here. But yeah, like you said, the recipe is there. We have, you got to think that there's program, chain reaction, the observatory, right? You can count the main room, the constellation room, and then even we have the Garden Grove Amphitheater. There's so many cool venues out here, so many places for these bands to play shows. Even there's like that newer warehouse in Santa Ana that's like slowly starting to have more shows.
FTG?
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. You know, and I'm sure there's somebody, you know, pounding their keyboard like, oh, why don't you start a band? And it's just like, oh yeah, like maybe at this point, maybe I should just start looking, you know, just add to the pool of, you know, Orange County hardcore bands, even though I have no time to do anything. It might get to that point. If things become really scarce, I might have to start a band to keep it alive.
I think it's that it really just takes one band to do well from an area to really make a scene flourish. Like, I think if this new Take It to Heart record takes off, then it's like things are going to change like that. You know, I think that if a new band starts up and they have like a demo that pops off, I think people are going to start turning heads and more people are going to start bands. I think that's really all it takes, because you look at these like relatively remote areas of the country with like flourishing scenes that are really not necessarily driven by one band, but like kind of all inspired by one band. Like, we're talking about Wilkes-Barre, you know, like Wilkes-Barre is like middle of fucking nowhere. It's a bizarre town. And, I mean that with no disrespect. It's a cool place, but like, it makes no sense that if you're naming hardcore hotbeds, to like a normal person who's not part of the scene, I think they'd be very surprised when you start whipping out like places like Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and like Louisville, Kentucky, and Springfield, Illinois. Shout out to the Springfield, Illinois scene. A lot of good bands from that area. When you start whipping out places like that, I feel like they'd be surprised, but it really just takes one good band and a good venue to like really put a scene together. And I think Orange County is just like a breakaway from being legit again. Not legit, being amazing again, you know?
Yeah, because you got to think we've gotten lucky from the Fury era right into the Dare era. You know, Dare's still, like I said, still around, still doing stuff. They're more active than Fury, but like I said, with them being bigger and doing like international stuff, bigger tours, they're not home that much. So it's like time for the next band to step up. So I'm hoping too. I'm hoping that people really take to this next record take it to heart, because even the stuff they have now is good, but yeah, it just keeps getting better, and everyone in that band is talented. I love the style of music that they write, and it's awesome. So I'm just hoping that people don't just keep overlooking them.
I 100% agree, and I do want to say big shout out Dare. None of them live in Orange County anymore besides Eric, but they still put on for Orange County so hard, and they still play Orange County shows when they can. Trey lives over halfway across the country, and they're still playing Orange County shows this year. Like, big respect to that band. One of my favorite bands of all time. I claimed Edge at a Dare show. Like, that band was so foundational for me. I can't like have us like brush by that and not have me shout out Dare,
100%. Yeah, no, I love that band. Shout out, got a lot of love for Angel. I love that he's able to get behind the drum kit again. Shout out Field of Flames. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And you briefly mentioned, I didn't want to bring it up because I don't know how much we could say publicly, but you briefly mentioned the Broken Vow Take It to Heart tour. When is that going to officially get announced? When will the tour poster drop? Because people may remember that this was supposed to happen, not as big as it's going to happen, but there was supposed to be a Take It to Heart Broken Vow run out east. Was it earlier this year? But due to the Omicron and things kind of flaring up, it wasn't able to happen. So I'm just curious, when will the official announcement drop?
Yeah, so I'm I don't care if I get in trouble for spilling a little bit. I did so much booking for this tour. I don't fucking care. I'll spill a little bit. The announcement is happening May 30th. As you just said, we had a tour plan that got canceled, and when it got canceled, we were all kind of together, and we were really like going back and forth on like whether we should do it or not, because like it wasn't something we had to do. It was kind of more something that we should do. And it was a really difficult decision for everybody. And kind of one thing that me and Tommy were saying because Tommy and I were in the boat that we should cancel it because of Omicron was so bad, and it would have just been a horrific situation if somebody tested positive while we were on the road. But we were all kind of together, and one thing that me and Tommy kept saying was like, yo, since we started booking, so we booked that first tour that got canceled. We started booking that so long ago. I want to say over a year ago, and me and Tommy were kind of saying like Broken Vow has grown so much since then. Tommy's done so much touring with Anxious since then and met so many new people. Excuse me. We've gotten so many new opportunities. Broken Vow, we kind of had anticipated growth in the Broken Vow camp in terms of like, we announced the One Scene Unity song. We got announced on Simon Fury and Wild Rose and all that. And like, we're like, Broken Vow is going to be so much bigger by the time that we put together something new. We were like, or that sounds conceited, but we were like, Broken Vow is growing already. And we're like, hopefully things will be bigger by that point. And we were kind of just saying like, we can book a way better tour for you guys if like we reschedule. Like that tour would have been so fun. It would have been incredible, but there was a lot of like kind of shot looking shows and stuff that got thrown together last minute and stuff that wasn't looking that fun. But this new tour that we have planned, and I don't want to spill too much, but I am so genuinely excited for every single date of this tour. Like we have worked so hard on booking this, and I kept my promise. This tour is infinitely better than the original one that we had booked, and I cannot wait to announce it. It's going to be so exciting.
I'm very excited for both both bands. Because obviously, you remember that night. I think it was your last night in town. More recently, me, you, and Ben, and Jay. We were in front of this. I think it was a Chevron. I can't remember. And we were
some gas station.
Yeah, some random gas station. Ben kept drinking those teas, which was insane. Yep. It was like we literally just had dinner and it was freezing out, and he just kept buying these teas. I'm like, geez, like how does he not have to piss everywhere? That's weird.
He's putting down like 9 cups of coffee's worth of caffeine in the span of like 20 minutes. But anyway,
but I remember, I was speaking to you about the routing, and I remember you were having, I don't know if it was trouble, but you just hadn't locked in, one specific date, and I was like, oh, don't worry, I got you. And then just months later, hearing that it actually is going to happen right through the person that I put you in contact with, I'm like, oh wow, that's super awesome that. He was able to help you guys out and put you on, and then you guys now get to go to this area that you've never played before. So I'm just like happy to hear things like that, just like through the grapevine, me not even like looking for news, just like talking to friends and hearing that shit worked out. I thought it was like super awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate you helping me out with that date and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this tour, like this tour booking has gone from like, ooh, like we don't know where we're at with this person. Like they're not that great at responding, and it's so far away that I don't know this person. And it's like, I hope this comes through, to literally every single date on our tour being locked in now. And like, it's just been crazy to watch. Like I spend so much time like during my classes this year, not paying attention. Just like my dad's going to listen to this podcast and get mad at me for that line, but he's going to be annoying about that one. Anyway, I spend so much time like in my classes, like working on tour stuff and like booking and like DMing somebody from XYZ city in XYZ state that I don't want to give away right now. And just working hard on like making something happen. And it's all come together so well. And yeah, May 30th, we're announcing, and I can't wait.
Shout out Peter.
Shout out Peter. Sure. Shout out Peter. We can shout him out.
Yeah, no, it definitely is awesome. And I'm very excited for both bands, just because it's awesome. And for you guys to have done it on your own, right? Was there ever any idea to maybe look for like a booking agent? Because I know a lot of people might not want to have to deal with the headache of booking their own full US tour and just kind of, and not passing it off, but that's why there's booking agents. That's their job. Just kind of handing it off that way. So it's one less stress, on top of having to do the whole tour.
That thought process, kind of came way later. I mean, so the way that this whole tour thing worked is that first tour that I mentioned, we started booking like over a year ago, and like roughly a year ago. Sorry. And like that tour that was going to happen in January, like the way that happened was I wasn't even in Broken Vow yet. Tommy and I were just friends, and I was kind of filling in for Broken Vow at the time. And Tommy was mentioning like, oh, we had like this opportunity and this opportunity, it got canceled, and we were thinking of doing this, but it ended up falling through. And I was like, you really want to tour with this band, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, then let's book something. I was like, I don't care. I'll have some fun with it, So it, from the start, has been very much like a DIY thing where it's just me and Tommy, like, me and Tommy and Mon rather, kind of being like, let's make this happen ourselves. Like we know contacts in this many cities. Why not try to make it happen on our own, And I'm so proud of the work that we've done. I think we came up with a really good tour. However, this One Step Closer tour that we just finished the other day did show us how cool things can be when it's done like professionally, So I think there's a time and place for both. I mean, we'd really like to play support for like a longer tour, for like a bigger band sometime this year. We'd like to be the first band on the bill for like a significantly bigger band for us. And a lot of that happens through agents and booking agents and stuff like that. And I 100% see the value in that. I see why it's done the way that it's done, but I can't lie and say that I didn't enjoy like working on this whole tour ourselves, and like grinding it out and like having my spreadsheets and stuff like that, So it's a balance, hopefully I get to do both in the future.
Yeah, no, I could totally see you guys, taking that opportunity. because I think about a band like Anxious, right? They have the music down, which is important, right? Like you could be on the best tour in the world, but if your music sucks, you ain't really going anywhere, right? So so shout out Anxious, shout out Little Green House. They had that record, and then they went on that tour with Knuckle Puck, and they were one of the opening bands on the bill, which I thought was like perfect for them because right, like people are huge fans of like Hot Mulligan, Knuckle Puck, and get there like those types of shows. Like people like to get there early and mingle and pack the venue out. So for a band to go on first and have the room already full, and they're either going to play to their audience, or they're going to play to a whole new crop of people that they're going to be exposed to, and their music is awesome. So like I to this day I haven't met anybody that hates Anxious, and I don't want to meet them, but but I think it was a perfect opportunity, right? Because you look at what they've done, and they went out there, had a good reaction, gained a lot of new fans, and then they come out and do the next thing, and then with Boston Manor, and they were telling me that they had people coming out to the Boston Manor show, which is a little different than Knuckle Puck, but they had people telling them like, yo, like I saw you on the Knuckle Puck tour, so I'm here for you guys. And it's such a cool way to build an audience that way, just getting out there, putting in the work, and just playing the music in front of them, because as easy as it is to click a link to open your Spotify, people are still pretty lazy about that stuff. So when you're already there in front of them, they don't really have to do anything. They just have to, listen. That's a great way to capture new fans. So for you guys to get an opportunity like that in the future, I think it would be very beneficial for you guys.
With a band like Anxious, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. So like everything that you're saying is 100% right about them, but also like, a shout out. There's this kid at my college named Rayhan. I met him at that Fiddlehead record release show. Really nice guy, really nice kid. But he knew Fiddlehead kind of, and he was just like, he's mostly into like pop punk stuff, bands like Heart Attack Man, bands like Water Park, stuff like that. Like that's really his bag. But through Fiddlehead and through the growth that Anxious has gone through, he eventually found Anxious. And Anxious is not shy about like their hardcore roots and stuff like that. And like, I just looked at his Spotify the other day because he tweeted something about it, and he's got like Have Heart on playlists and Broken Vow, and like Pummel, and like legit hardcore stuff that like you got to be like in the know to find. And like he found all of this because he found Anxious on the Knuckle Puck tour or something like that, so the proof is in the pudding. I'm seeing it happen. That show last night in Wilkes-Barre, there were so many like young kids in there who I could tell were probably new to hardcore. And I think that's fucking awesome, because I can imagine getting, if I had like been in pop punk and like going to the shows that I was going to at a time when Anxious was coming up, and I had seen them at a set, I know for a fact I would have fallen in love with them, because that band is so good. And I can totally imagine trying to catch them at the next show and seeing a band like One Step Closer and being like, oh, this is like a little more intense, but like it still scratches the same itch. And then going from One Step Closer to like looking at like, oh, they were on Triple B, like who are all these other artists that are on this label, and falling into hardcore. I mean, that's essentially what happened for me. I'm so stoked that Anxious is getting the attention that they're getting, and that it's them and not somebody else. The proof is in the pudding, like I said.
No, yeah, 100%. I could go on for days about how much I love Anxious, and getting to see them right early on, like them going on tour with One Step Closer when they got to play the Have Heart shows out here in California, and doing that full US from then to now. And if you look at like the growth that band has had, the one thing that I love outside of the music is that they haven't changed as people. Like when I see them here in California, if I see them across the United States or wherever, like they treat me the same. So I love that so much about them, because people get weird egos, become rock stars, which is so gross to me. But when I have friends like the dudes in Anxious, and for them to be able to stay level-headed and still be themselves, that's something that I truly appreciate about them. And and it's cool because they're doing crazy stuff, right? They're about to do that Thrice Bayside tour. They're going to Europe with Drug Church, Angel Dust. I'm just so happy for that band.
Like those dudes were playing 1,500 cap rooms not that long ago, and it's still so nice. Like whenever I see those dudes at a show, whether it's my show or their show, or just like a show that we're both attending or something like that, like every single time their eyes light up and they're so stoked to see like their friends, you know. It's like, it's not like they've ditched anything. They're all really good dudes who, like I said, I'm so glad it's them that's seeing. I'm so glad Anxious is the band that's seeing the success that they're seeing, and not some band of like a bunch of pricks who like think that they're hot shit because they're successful, you know. Like Grady 2 steps at show. Grady was fucking moshing to Broken Vow, you know, like that says all that needs to be said, you know. Like he's on the ground, and those dudes like fuck with us and put on for us, and I really appreciate that, not just as like a business transaction, but also just like as a friend, you know. Like I really fuck with what they've done for us and what they've done in general, you know.
100%. No, that's really awesome to hear. And I can totally see that because, yeah, they're not too cool to be in the pit. They're not too cool to support other bands. Okay. Yeah. Going back to Broken Vow, the split was released, and then also when you think about Sane's Mind, and that wasn't that long ago, but it feels like ages ago. I'm a fan over here, wondering, when's Broken Vow going to put out like the next proper record? Because like Split's cool, but like, are we going to get an EP next, or are you going to try to step it up and go to an LP, or do you guys even have any plans, or are you going to wait till after your summer plans?
We've already hit the ground running with writing, with vinyl backups and pressing plants and stuff like that. We obviously don't want people to forget about us. We want to get new music out as soon as possible. So we've already started writing. We're not going to wait till we're done with our summer plans. But I mean, this band, like, this is the first opportunity that we've had to write with like this full lineup, like together. And we're really, really taking advantage of it because we're writing a lot of new stuff. I think we're aiming for an LP. And the songs that we're putting together are really coming together, you know. And we had a talk the other day about like bigger picture, like conceptualizing a project, like lyrical themes, musical motifs, bands that we want to draw from, stuff like that. And like I said earlier, I'm in love with this band. I am so psyched for the future that we have. Like, I think that we're getting better and better with every single song we write. And I'm just so stoked because like Tommy will send me a demo, or like there was a practice that I couldn't come to recently for whatever reason. And Tommy sent me like everything that they had recorded afterwards. And I was listening to it. I was like, shit, this is good. I was so happy, and I was so proud of them because it's like, we're really putting together something that I think is going to be really cool. And who knows when that'll come out. Like I said, we want to get it out as soon as possible, but we also want to be meticulous about it. You know, this band isn't going to be around forever, and we're only going to get so many shots at like making a good LP, you know? So we're like, I don't want to waste that. And we're really trying to put together something that like lasts longer than I don't know, something that like lives on longer than us. That's the goal, you know? And I think we're writing some really good shit, and I'm excited.
That's pretty interesting to hear you say that this band's not going to, be around forever, which is, fair if you look at big picture, right? But but in terms of, you guys are like obviously an active band now, so is that something that you guys even think about, like the end of Broken Vow?
It's not something I think about often because I mean, I don't want to plan for that because, like I've said, the growth that we've seen recently has been nothing short of like outstanding to me. It blows me away every single day. But like, I don't know. And I don't want to put it like a cap on it and say like, 2 LP max or like 4 years or something like that, because it's like I can imagine things, continuing to be fun, continuing to grow so long in the future. So who knows in that regard. But also, like, we have talked about how we don't want Broken Vow to like be overstay our welcome, like big respect to a lot of the the bands that are still doing it like way longer than they have, or than they've needed to, like fucking Terror, that new record. There is no reason that a band 20 plus years into their career should be putting out a record that good, and should be as good as they are live and touring as actively as they are. Like, big respect to bands like that are still doing it. But I just don't think that's Broken Vow, you know? Like, there's that end of the coin, and like big respect to bands like Terror, but also big respect to bands like Gulch or Have Heart, who like knew their time when the time had come, you know, and like kind of quit and bowed out while they were still making just like a perfect discography and stuff like that, you know. Like, big respect to those bands, big respect to making room for smaller bands and not dominating, you know. Like, I think that if Broken Vow continues to grow and continues to be fun, then I'd love to keep the train rolling as long as we possibly can. But I also, at some point, would like to not overstay our welcome, you know, because there's a point where people are going to stop caring, and there's going to be a point where us existing is kind of just redundant. You know what I'm saying? So don't worry, Broken Vow is not breaking up anytime soon. But my point with this is we're not going to be around for the next 20 years, you know?
That's wild. Because in my position, right, I do this thing multiple times a week, and I've kind of put myself in this position where I have like a solid base of people listening. Shout out to everyone who listens every week. I appreciate all of you more than you know. And I've thought about like, damn, where does this go? Do I like, because I never want to have a final episode. I just want to, hopefully the way it ends is, I put out an episode not knowing it's the end, you know, as grim as that sounds, but
yeah.
But I told myself the only way that I would stop this now, just because I love doing it so much, and it's like, you know, a lot of fun for me, is when my analytics show me that there's nobody left listening. It could be down to one. I will do it for that one person out there, you know, outside of myself, because like I said, this is very fun for me. It's very therapeutic, and this information, right, all these conversations that I have and all these little nuggets that I'm digging for through having conversation, I know for a fact that there's people out there who are wondering the same thing or wanting to know the same thing. So for me to have been doing it for so long, I can't just up and stop now. So,
and it just depends on the project is the thing, you know, because here's the thing. It's not like when I say that about Broken Vow, like me, like we're all going to quit music, you know, because here's the thing. Tommy and Harrison and I specifically are already in like 40 fucking make-believe bands together that will probably put out a demo one day, you know? And that is definitely not going to stop. But when Broken Vow ends, like, when Broken Vow ends, like, we're still going to be active in the scene. We're still going to be making music here. We're still going to be starting new bands and doing new projects that hopefully reach the same level, if not higher, than Broken Vow ever did. But just Broken Vow as a project is not meant to be forever. And with something like you are your brand, you know, you are the Jamie Orke podcast, you know? And with like that example, it's like, you can keep going as long, like you said, as long as someone cares, you know? And I really respect that. And I think that's 100% the right path for you. And I'm so happy to hear that, because it shows me that you really love and are so passionate about what you do. And that's how I feel about Broken Vow. But with a single project like that, it's like, who knows what'll happen 2 years from now, you know? Who knows what my relationships with my friends in the band, with like where we're all living in the country, who knows, like with our relationships. I think we all have partners right now, you know, and like, who knows what'll happen with that, you know? And it's just like, we're all so young right now, and our lives are really about to change so drastically, whether that be within hardcore or that be just like growing up and stuff like that. And it's like, I would like to do Broken Vow for so long, but also like different bands require different attention. And I think that I can imagine a point where it's just like Broken Vow no longer is what makes sense, but a new band with the same exact people does. You know what I'm saying? Like, what band is it that's basically Have Heart? Is it Clear or is it Free? That's like literally just Have Heart, but like a new band. Either way, I can imagine a point where Broken Vow is it's just different, you know? And this is not me being grim and like the end is coming. Like, we are just hitting our stride. Like, this is hopefully this is just the beginning of Broken Vow, you know, but it is worth bringing up that like there is an end at some point, you know, and I don't want to be doing this band until like, I don't want to be doing this band until no one cares anymore, because I don't really want to live through I don't want this band to live through the time where people who care is really declining, you know? Like I said earlier, look at Gulch. They're dropping out right at the peak. That sucks in some regards because I fucking love that band and I would love another Gulch LP and I would love another Gulch EP or split or whatever. But like that band was supposed to be a demo core band, you know, like, and it just took off, you know, bands like Restraining Order. I think Restraining Order is one of the best bands in modern hardcore period. I think we are going to look back at that band so fondly and realize that like that band was legendary. But that was supposed to be a demo core band, you know, that was supposed to be just like a one demo and we're done thing. And they just got so much love that they kept going, you know, but none of these bands are meant to live forever. And only so few can do it as long as they've done it, like Terror. And again, big respect to those people, but I just don't think it's in my best interest to be working with the same project like 7 LPs in, you know, it's just not what I want to do, you know?
For sure. No, I totally get that. And
wait, actually, let me add one more point because I forgot this. And sure. Tommy always says this, and it's a very intelligent point. So much of the attraction of Broken Vow is the fact that is who we are, and the fact that so many of us are like young individuals who like really are pushing for change within like the world that we see, you know, and like we have such political lyrics, and like the fact that it's youth outrage is so important to what we do. And I feel like that message will be somewhat diluted when we're older. You know, and can that message adapt? Can that change? Can Tommy change his lyrics to be more about like how things have changed as he grows up and stuff like that? 100%. But also like so much of Broken Vow is that we're like young kids doing what we're doing. And like, and at some point it's going to lose its charm when it's like, when we're like, yeah, like that split was like North American youth or whatever, because the Set Straight guys are the same age as us, you know. It's gonna lose some charm when we're like North American youth split was so awesome and we're like 26, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not cute anymore. And no shame to no hate on anybody if it sounds like it. That's not what I mean to do. It's just like I have no interest in taking this to the wheels fall off, you know. It's like I want to enjoy this as long as I enjoy it, you know.
100%. No, I totally get that. And I kind of smirked when you said 26 because I'm way past 26 and you're making me feel way old.
No. And that's not like me trying to shame anybody who's older in the scene. I mean, most of my friends are that age. We have a band member who's that age, you know. It's nothing like that. It's just like for Broken Vow to be like, oh, the young kids doing it. Like that's like what we're known as right now, you know? And I think that's cool. And I respect that. And I would like to graduate that and become a band that people kind of see as like good musically, whether they know that we're young kids or not. But with that being said, it's like youth outrage only takes you so far when you're no longer the youth, you know?
Yeah. It starts to become, it might seem like disingenuous when you're like, wow, why are these like older people singing about youth outrage and like, what do they know?
And I think,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think we're talented enough to pivot. I think that we could theoretically change our message to fit wherever we're at in life. I think that's totally possible. And who knows, maybe I'm talking on my ass right now and the time will come and I'll be like, I don't want to break up this band. I want to keep going. But I just, at the point where I'm at, I just like with what Broken Vow is, I can't imagine it continuing with the necessary changes that would need to be made. I feel like we could just effectively make a new project and have just as much fun with the same people creating same quality music, just doing something different, you know?
Yeah, no,
look at Fiddlehead.
I 100% agree. Cause there's even those times where, there's a band that, you know, maybe they'll lose a member, you know, outside circumstances, and they still continue on as the same project, and people are like, they would be better off if they just changed their name. And just a simple thing like that, it's like, yeah, maybe they would like, you know, relieve themselves of like this weird stigma from the name that they're attached to, and they could just start fresh and it would be like way better for them.
100%. And it's like, you look at like, I don't mean any disrespect on any of these bands, but you look at like the active pop punk scene right now, and it's like all the most popular bands for the most part are bands that were either like at their peak in 2015 or were at their peak like 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And like all respect to those bands. I think these bands are still like putting out really good quality music. Like that new Knuckle Puck EP was really good, but like I just don't care the same way that I did in 2015, you know, like when I was in like middle school and I was like really fucking loving those records. And I'm stoked that hardcore is the way that it is, that bands kind of know when to call it, because it's like, I don't know, for a band like Knuckle Puck, for example, it's like they're going to ride that till the wheels fall off because they're going to be making money off that project forever. Not many people really make any money off hardcore, and because of that, people aren't so tight. It's not so integral to their lives that people can step away from projects when it's respectful, when it's like respectable, you know, like Title Fight, 4 perfect records, you know, Gulch. I don't know how many records they have, but they're all flawless. Have Heart, same thing, you know? And I think that is a beautiful way to be, you know? I don't want to put asterisks on my legacy, or what legacy I have is in quotations, but on my future legacy, my hypothetical legacy, by putting out 10 shitty albums that nobody cares about just because I'm still going, you know?
No, I totally get it. I feel sometimes like a fake fan when I'm listening to a band and I'm like, God, I hate this record, so let me skip this whole era and, you know, get to the things that I like. And I'm like, man, it's just not something that I really want to, you know, be a part of. So I definitely get it.
It's depressing if you're a band and it's like everybody's just like sitting there like not caring until you play the song from like 20 years ago where you struck gold, and then everybody loses their shit. Like that's depressing, and it's no shame to any of those bands, because like I'm friends with bands who kind of have that case. But like, I don't know, it's just important to know like where you're at and like understand your audience and understand like yourself as a project. You know, you don't need to keep going forever.
Yeah. There's few bands that can, like you mentioned Terror, and then you look at a band like Madball.
Yep.
There's not that many bands that can keep it together, you know, for so long and still be relevant and have people care. So I definitely agree. And you know, you mentioned Gulch, a couple times. It does suck that they're going away, but it's also cool to know that everyone in that band is still going to be involved in the scene. You know, either playing in other bands or you know, shout out to Printhead, shout out Cole. Doing amazing work. I've worked with him before. He does awesome, merch for bands. Hit him up. You know, even if you're not in a band. But that's one thing that I love about that band. Even though they're hanging it up as Gulch, they're all still going to be involved in one way or another.
I mean, Sammy's still in one of the most relevant bands in hardcore besides Gulch, you know?
Yeah,
like
insane.
That band, it's exactly my point. Gulch can die as a active project, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get Gulch's creative output anymore. You're getting it through bands like Drain. You're getting it through Spinebreaker. You're getting it through all these other projects, you know? And it's like people are going to be bummed that they're not getting another Gulch LP, but you're like, those brains are still active, you know, they're still working and helping the scene, you know? It's just like, you got to look for it in different places.
100%. And I like to think that, them being so active in their other bands, kind of reignited the Spinebreaker, surge. Cause
it did.
Cause, they kind of, lie dormant, played shows here or there. And it's always been like, hey, like, when's new music? I'm like hitting up, the singer Alex, like, yo, like, when's the new music coming out? And now that we're finally getting it soon, right, they're about to record, I'm so excited because that band was and still is super awesome.
That band is awesome. And yeah, it just allows attention to go to other projects. It's like, I don't know, I really have fun with all the bands that I'm in, and I'm in multiple projects because I enjoy being in multiple projects. Mm-hmm. And right now my attention's on Broken Vow just because that's my biggest band right now. And that's my most successful. And it's the one that requires the most time. But it's like, if something happened and Broken Vow had to break up, it's like, you'd still get like my brain through my other bands like Ankle Biter and shit like that, you know, like you're still going to be getting great LPs from the people in Gulch for years to come, you know, it's just not through Gulch, and that's fine, you know.
100%. And you mentioned Ankle Biter. I ran into the singer of Ankle Biter out here in Orange County. It was the funniest thing because I hit texted Bertles and I'm like, hey, what's the name of the singer of Ankle Biter? And he was like, oh, you guys are probably at the same show. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I don't want to mistaken identity. But he's like, no, you're probably the same show. So shout out to Nick for confirmation. And then we eventually met the next night at the Last Straw show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rachel sings for that band. She's crazy. I don't even remember why she was out in California, but I'm glad she got to see some like program shows and stuff like that. That's really cool for her. But yeah, Ankle Biter's another project that I'm doing. Demo dropping very, very soon.
Just say the date. I know the date, but you say it.
I'm not allowed to say the date, but I'm going to say the date anyway. It's June 1st. The demo's dropping June 1st.
Awesome demo, by the way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm really stoked on that because like that band is like the music that plays through my head when I'm like walking day to day, like I'm really into like faster, more punk leaning stuff, like Result of Choice and Dare are two of like my favorite bands of all time, and now I'm getting into like a lot more of like the Lockin' Out stuff, like Mental, Razzle Dazzle, Righteous Jams, Rampage, fucking, I could keep going, Justice, but like all those bands are like, that's what plays through my head when I walk around day to day, and getting to do a band with like really, really good people and really, really good energy and getting to like make that type of music has just been so fun. I love that band.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious, what size shirt do you wear?
I wear a large.
Okay. I have this Result of Choice long sleeve that I've never worn. It's right here. I got you. Hold on. Let me pull it out live on camera so I can show you. It was when they came to LA years ago.
Oh my God. This is so exciting.
I've never worn it. It's just been here. So
can I steal that from you?
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah.
So being obsessed with that band the way that I am, because that's one of my all-time favorite bands, straight up, is awesome. So funny because like that band was never like super active, and like they were never huge, and they were also never like a band that was like meant to do like these full USs where they hit everywhere and sell like hundreds of pieces of merch. So like tracking down like interviews with the singer Jules and like tracking down like old merch that people are selling or like live videos is like really tough. There's not a lot of it out there, but like straight up that EP that they put out, Place in My Dreams, I'm sure all my friends who are like listening to this interview are cracking up because I talk about this band way too much. But like that EP is perfect in my book. I love that band. We joke that Ankle Biter is my way of like coping with the fact that I never got to see them live,
That's pretty funny. Yeah, no, they were sick. Fun fact, I reached out to Jules to do a podcast years ago, but obviously never happened. Sad day.
Yeah. I mean, I read a Z interview with her once, and she seemed really interesting. I don't know. I really hope that. I don't think that band is ever going to get back together. I don't see that. I know members are like living all over the place, but I'd love to. I'd love to just like chat with one of them and just like pick their brain about like that band and like understand things, and like I don't know if they have any leftover merch, like send them my way. I don't know. You get my point. That band is in my eyes legendary, and I'm like so happy that I found them,
100%. That's cool. Well, I'm happy to be able to contribute because I had no idea that you were a fan of that band, and I've had this long sleeve for years. I've never worn it, so
that's so funny to me. Yeah, I'm obsessed with that band. I love it.
Okay, hell yeah. And your other band, Ultimatum. I was sad I never got a shirt. I might not ever see you guys live. What's the vibes?
Ultimatum's complicated. So Ultimatum has been around for way over a year at this point. I started writing for that band in, I want to say like October 2020 or something like that, It was me and Nick and some other members who are no longer affiliated. And it's morphed so many times because of various things. And eventually we finally found this lineup that we're really, really happy with. And we recorded a demo, and we're just waiting for the person who's doing a guest spot to record that. But that should be coming soon. And Ultimatum is weird because it's all people who are in other really, really good bands, in my opinion, and really active bands at that. So it's never going to be a band that's like touring really or like playing every local show or stuff like that. But it's a band that I hope when we do get to play shows, whether they're local or just with like cool opportunities and stuff like that, that it goes off for, because I'm really happy for that band. the demo's about to come out. We already have another EP written that will probably come out not too far after, but yeah, I mean, Ultimatum will hit its stride soon. You know, don't lose hope. We'll see.
All right.
Have you heard that, by the way? I can send that to you.
No, I would like to hear it. So I'll
send you something.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate that. Okay. Well, that was awesome to talk about the bands, but you also, you did a zine. I'm not sure if that's still active in some form, but I'm speaking of a Voice of Strength fanzine. Can you talk about the state of that?
So Voice of Strength fanzine is it's not coming back for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. It was a way, because I mentioned earlier, like there was a point where I was in hardcore, but I couldn't be in a band because like I was moving across the country soon. It just didn't make sense to start up something so soon. So I was like, I needed a way to participate in hardcore, and the zine was the way that I did that, and I'm so glad that I did that for as long as I did. It gave me so many connections with like people that are in amazing bands who are great people. Shout out Reign of Salvation. Shout out Tyler Inclination. Shout out Jem from Speed. Like those are the first people. Crystal from Initiate. Like those are all people that like I made friends with through the zine that like I'm so stoked that I got to talk to. But for now, it's not going to happen for a while. Me and Nick were talking about using the Voice of Strength name as like a booking thing in Providence. But who knows if that'll happen. It was fun while it lasted. Maybe one day there'll be another issue, but I can't see it in the foreseeable future.
Okay. And I'm just curious, for anyone who may not know, you do these interviews at your university. Now, have you always had that skill, or was that carried over from the fanzine?
It was from the zine. I mean, so the way that the first zine came about was I was like, oh, this is a fun idea. Like I'll make an Orange County themed hardcore zine, and I'll interview Dare, Fury, and Take It to Heart, and and that's what I did, and kind of halfway through that process, I realized that like I really enjoyed the process of like doing research and thinking of questions. And I kind of also discovered that I'm not bad at it. I think that interviews are like, it's very much dependent on the time that you're willing to put into it, and I was willing to put in like 7 hours into researching like some obscure hardcore band and get good results based off it, and as each issue came out, I feel like I got better at interviewing it each time. And eventually that carried on to when I got to Brown. At Brown, I was like, I want to continue my interviews in a way. And there's this publication called Brown Interviews here, and it's allowed me to interview like, I don't know, members of like bands I've been a fan of since I was in like 8th grade, and like relatively well-known celebrities, like, and it's been fun. I've enjoyed it, and I do plan on continuing to do that. But yeah, the interviewing thing 100% comes from like the zine, it's something that I've enjoyed doing because I figured out I could do it through interviewing Angel from Dare,
That's awesome. And I read your Damien Kulash interview.
Yes.
That was pretty interesting. And I really enjoyed the fact that you included links to stuff, because I'm like, damn, I haven't seen these videos since they were on TV. So to be able to watch like these old music videos, it was a kind of like a throwback, but also cool to hear Damien's perspective on all of it.
Such an interesting guy, and that's like why I love interviews. I just get to talk to these people who have been around forever and who have like done all this cool shit, and I just get to be like, hey, what's your perspective on this? Because it's so seldom known. Like, I don't know, that process isn't always shared as much as it really could be, and I think it's really cool to pick these people's brains. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you have like a schedule for these interviews, or do you just do them when you get asked by the university, or like how does all of that work?
I'm usually reaching out to artists like pretty frequently myself. Mm-hmm. Music promotion outside of hardcore is relatively cyclical. So it's like, take an artist like, I don't know, Charlie XCX. She's not doing interviews for like a long time because she has nothing to promote, Nobody cares about a Charlie XCX interview unless she's got something to promote. Once she drops a single or once she drops an album, it is my job as an interviewer to hit up her people and be like, hey, can we do an interview? And if they say yes, then we schedule it and we get it out as soon as possible. And that's how it works. But yeah, I've been bugging like her people and like Phoebe Bridgers people like so many times. Like I think Phoebe Bridgers people like know me by name. Like they'll see an interview request from me or an email, and they'll be like, hi, Evan, like nice to hear from you again. Like for like the 30th time, like, no, Phoebe's not doing any interviews right now, but like, will let you know when she is. It's just it's a constant cycle of reaching out on my part.
Okay, that's cool, and that would be awesome to hear a Charlie XCX interview, because
that's the goal.
I'm a fan, and maybe you're the reason why she pops up on my timeline so much these days.
I don't shut up about her, so I wouldn't be surprised.
So sadly, she didn't come through Orange County. She did like San Diego and then skipped over to LA, which I totally get. But did you get a chance to catch her on tour?
I couldn't get tickets. And I'm so upset about that. I'll live. She's like one of my all-time favorite artists, and I think she'll be around for a while.
Yeah,
but
she'll be back for sure.
She'll be back, but I'm so bummed I missed that.
Okay, well, damn, that definitely is a bummer. But I think it's cool that you're doing these interviews, because it's
thank you,
like a cool outlet, and especially to like because obviously these people that you're reaching out to, you obviously find interesting. So it's always cool to read something that from someone that I might not be as interested in, but then walk away being like, oh, cool, like that was a great interview. I know a lot more, and that person is actually more interesting than they thought they could be. Not speaking about you, but speaking about the people you're interviewing.
Yeah, I think that my interviews with XYZ person says just as much about them as it does about me, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, because I can tell just by reading it that you actually, you know, put some thought into it, because I've read so many bad zines, you know, in the hardcore realm, where I'm just like, like, why did you even waste your time? Why did you waste their time? And it's just, I get it, like secondhand embarrassment.
And that's why I started doing the interviews in the first place. I back-to-back read one of the worst zines that I've ever read, which I'm obviously not going to name the name of. And I read right after that, I read Off the Surface, which is Hall of Fake Eyes, who used to be in Magnitude zine. And it was just like incredible, thought-provoking, very intelligent interviews. And I was like, damn, it's really easy not to suck at this. And I think I have the time and energy and brain power to do something that's very thoughtful like this. So like, I don't know. A lot of it just being a time commitment, you know? Like, I think the water parks interview, which I did, I think I spent like 10 to 12 hours researching for that and writing questions, you know, like that's a lot of fucking time, you know, but yeah. I don't know. It's worth it to me. I'm really proud of how that came out.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, because it's cool to also read an interview when you know this particular person has done a bunch of interviews, but you can read this one that's different from the rest. Because it does also blow my mind when a lot of these outlets literally ask the same questions, and I'm just like, are you brain dead? Like you do realize these are such like common things that you should either already know or not even want to ask, because like everybody else is going to ask.
It made my fucking like year, I remember, because I watched so many interviews on water parks when I was researching for that, and so many of them it's the same questions, and the singer of that band is quite like honest about how he doesn't like doing press and stuff like that, and how it's like the same fucking questions over and over again. I think they even have a song about it, you know. But I remember like when I asked him one question, he was like, you know, that's a really good question. I've never been asked that before, and I was like, yes. I got so excited when I heard that, because that just means that I'm doing my job right. You know, my goal with that is to talk to these people and like try to sneak out answers that you don't really get in other interviews, you know? And, I was super proud when that happened, you know?
Yeah, no, those are the moments that, you know, it makes doing what you're doing fun, because you're seeking out this information that you want to know, but also you definitely know that there's other people out there who are just as curious that want to know as well.
100%.
Okay, and I want to go back, because you mentioned like that first zine that you did with Fury, Dare, Take It to Heart. That's like a lineup that I've been wanting to book for so long, because you got to think it's insane that it hasn't happened, and I know like I feel like the clock is ticking, and we don't have time on our side as far as having that kind of show happening. Like I want to do it so bad, but I do
want to say it's possible. And my reasoning is obviously Take It to Heart would say yes to that. Fury, when I reached out to Madison to do that interview, he was kind of just like, he was like, I usually wouldn't say yes to this type of thing, but like Orange County needs more stuff going on. Like I really would love to like put on for that or whatever. And I know that Angel is very much like from Dare is very much like anything for Orange County. Like if people put on for Orange County, then he is stoked on it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that it's possible if you can bug all of them and like leverage their like love for where we all come from and the scene that we're from against them, then it's possible. It's doable.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we got to get on it because, like, when I think about it, I would love to have it at like the locker room, just because it's
oh my god,
it's you know a no, like I love program, but I want to have it just in a little bit of a bigger space, just so more people could go, right? Because I wouldn't want it to be super limited, and for something like that, it's not going to happen that often. So like my dream would be to have it at the locker room, get those 3 bands. Should reach out to Scalp, be like, hey, I know this isn't really in your lane, but this is an Orange County thing. Please hop on. And obviously Major Pain. That would be insane. Just all Orange County.
That'd be a legendary night.
Yeah, that would be insane. All right.
If you end up doing that, just make sure you do it while I'm home. That's all I request.
Okay, I'll start putting feelers out there because, dude, I've tried to book Fury, and obviously there's me peeling back the curtain. I've tried to book Fury, I think like 3 different times this year, and it just hasn't worked out.
I know that they're kind of at a place where they're really only doing Fury on their own terms, and total respect to that. Love that band, love what they're doing, and I totally get it this far into their career, but like for Orange County, like come on, like that would be crazy. Yeah,
but shout out to Fury because they still give me the respect to actually speak to me about it and not just like blow me off.
Huge respect to those guys. Big up to Madison. Really great what he's done for me in the past and what he's done for Broken Vow now that I'm at this stage in my life. Like big up to Fury guys, 100%.
Yeah, Madison was at the Last Straw gig, so shout out to him for rolling out to that.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Okay, well, I'm happy to speak to you about Brown, but I wanted to end this because I wanted to end it on this note because I find it interesting that I'm in hardcore. I feel so alone in our bubble in terms of a hardcore dude liking K-pop. And I'm always, trying to find who else is out there. And obviously I have Lexi from Spaced. We send each other cool packages. I always DM her cool K-pop shit. So she's someone that I can always reach out to that I know that is down. But then slowly but surely I find out that you like Twice. And I'm like, what the hell? I've talked to Evan. How did I not know that he is even interested in K-pop? So I'm just curious for you, how did you even get into it? Where did it start for you?
I'm so glad you asked this. Quick note before I get into this. I've talked to these people about it. We want to do an episode of the podcast with you, me, Lexi from Spaced, and Tring On, who plays bass in Ultimatum. Okay. We wanted to do because we're all like the lone hardcore kids who are into K-pop, and I think that'd be just so fun.
I'm so down.
Anyway, so
I'm down.
How I got into K-pop is one of my best friends back home. Her name is Nikki. She's been obsessed with K-pop for the longest time. And she, for a while, I kind of just wrote it off. I was like, it's not for me, blah, 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 blah. But then it started being around me more often. She started playing it more. One year, her and I hung out on her birthday and we had a long drive back from LA. So I just gave her the aux. I was like, get me into K-pop. I was like, show me the way, And eventually girl groups started clicking and some songs started really making sense. And I was like, oh shit, this Twice song or this Weekly song is I don't know what they're saying, but it has the best chorus I've ever heard in my life, So I was like, and from there I was just sold. I'm still not super deeply ingrained in the culture. I don't really know that much. My knowledge is relatively limited, but there's a playlist of 20 songs or so that I have that's just some of my favorite things to listen to. And I don't know if the people who are also in Broken Vow can hear me right now, but they all fucking hate when I play K-pop. I've been trying to get Elle, who plays bass in Ankle Biter, who's filling in for us on this run for Broken Vow, to listen to K-pop, and they just will not even humor me on it. And I do not blame them. I totally get the stigma or whatever, but straight up, some of my favorite music to listen to right now.
Hell yeah. No, I get it. I love it. And my closest friends, I'm like, hey, you guys should check this out. Or I've even tried to get them to come with me to see Twice, the couple times this year that they've come through. My friends are, you're crazy, I'm not going to go. So I've had to like venture out alone, which is fine because it's still a great experience. But it's cool to know that, you know, people like you, people like Lexi, people that I, you know, obviously like a lot, are into K-pop. So I'm definitely looking forward to being able to do that episode with you guys in the future.
It's so funny. I was in Newbury Comics the other day, which is like a chain record store, like nerdy place that like exists mostly in New England and Mass. And like they have a really good record selection. Like they have a lot of really good hardcore records in there. They have a really good comic section and graphic novels, and I'm super into that type of stuff. So I was digging around in there. And then I saw like the K-pop section. I was like, God, I kind of gotta look. I gotta look. Mm-hmm. And and like, yeah, it's so rare that those subcultures cross over for me. But it's funny that we have this little conglomerate of people who are into both. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. It's awesome because I feel like, you know, having you guys be into it, and then it's gonna grow, right? Because that you know, subculture is like crazy. And for me, like I've only been into it for like, you know, because I got into it in 2020, and just seeing it grow over the, you know, past couple of years and just getting into it more, it's pretty fun because you got to think, like I've been into hardcore since like 2002. So for me to dive into like a new type of, you know, music, like a whole different genre, just being able to start fresh and not know anything, it was kind of fun to have to kind of like figure everything out again.
That's wild to me that you threw 2002 out there. That's the year I was born. But yeah,
holy shit.
Mean, but no, I 100% get what you're saying. I mean, here's the thing. I hate the idea that like if you're into hardcore, that like that has to be all you listen to, or you have to be like super intense about that, you know, because like I love hardcore so much. It is like what drives me fucking every day. You know, there's nothing I'm more stoked on these days than like doing the hardcore that I'm doing. But like, I love a fun little poppy chorus with like crazy colorful music videos and shit like that, dude. I fucking love K-pop. I'm glad you brought that up. That's so funny.
Okay. All right. Last couple things. So Tommy's in the building with you.
Tommy is probably a room away. I don't know if he's asleep or not, but yeah, he's in the building.
When will he release those Take It to Heart hoodies?
That's so funny that you asked that. I think they're actually in Mon's possession now. For those that don't know, because I've mentioned her a couple times, Mon is like our manager and best friend. I think she might be the one sending them out. I don't know though, honestly. He went on tour right as they went live, and then I met up with him on tour, and he was supposed to give them to me so I can send them out, and then he didn't do that. But who knows? Maybe you'll get your Take It to Heart hoodie someday.
Okay, they're out there. They're real. They've been printed. It's just
they're somewhere in the Northeast waiting to be shipped out, I think.
Okay, awesome. And I got to track down Elle because Elle's supposed to be on the podcast, Ankle Biter podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, they're like 2 rooms away. The reason that I was late to logging on today was because I was picking them up from the train station.
Oh, for sure. That's who I thought you were picking up, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I got to get things sorted out with him because it was just kind of, I hit up Bertles, and maybe I'm saying too much, but I was just like, send someone over from the Ankle Biter camp, and Elle was the chosen one.
Oh my God, you should interview Elle and Rachel, honestly, because both of them will be entertaining in their own way, but Elle will talk your ear off, and that is going to be a hilarious podcast. I am so excited for that.
Those are my favorite types of guests. So
I'm glad. That'll be amazing.
Definitely looking forward to that. But all right, Evan, this has been awesome. I obviously love talking to anyone from Orange County. I'm excited and happy to see all the things you're doing, getting so much love, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. You'll be out here on the West Coast. I know we'll run into each other, but before we sign off, is there anything else you would like to say?
I appreciate you for having me on. I really appreciate that. I've been listening since like 2020 now, and it's so cool that I'm doing shit that you care about, and like that is like worthy of being on here. I'm a big fan of what you do, and I really appreciate you. I'll give some shout outs to, like I said, all those Orange County bands. Shout out Firestarter, shout out Scalp, shout out Major Pain, shout out Take It to Heart. All the New England bands that are going on right now are really sick. Support your local scene in general. Look out for what Broken Vow is doing in the future, because we got a cool summer ahead of us.
All right.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, everybody who tuned in, and goodbye.